Okay, we're here to give a little profile piece on current Aston Villa manager, Stuart Hodge, in the Premier League and doing a fine job as well. Stuart, you started your career at quite a high level for a rookie manager, Ipswich Town, promoted in the first season. What were the key factors in that promotion?
The heart that the players showed. Well, the one thing that I demand from any side that's playing under me is that they give 110% in every game that they play. And to be fair, the boys did that. The other thing that I think worked for us was there was quite a high turnover of players. There was a lot of players there that were perhaps stagnating a little.
Were they not showing the attitude that you just described?
I think that would be unfair, Ben. I think, to put it more accurately, they just didn't fit the jigsaw that I was trying to create. And we brought in players that I thought were slightly more in tune with my philosophy. And to be fair, a lot of them settled really, really well. Like some Matuzovic and obviously Katlego and Fela got a lot of goals. Romano Deneboom. We had a lot of players. Mark Randall on loan was fantastic for me. All of those players did really well for me. And Harava, I mean, I could reel off a list.
Yeah, we'll talk about individuals a bit later, but I want to talk about how you, as a manager, went about taking such a tiny club as Ipswich Town. You know, I mean, really small team. How did you go about taking them from really, the basement of the Championship to the Premier League? What did you bring personally to the party? How did you manage to motivate those players?
Ben, I think you're quite wrong in your perception of Ipswich as a small club. This is a club that were competing in the UEFA Cup within the last decade. Also, far be it for me to criticise my predecessor, but I think it was just a fresh approach as much as anything that I brought. But I don't want it to be about me, it's about the players at the end of the day. Yeah. And it was them that delivered the success, not me.
We'll talk about the Premiership in a minute. Just a quick word for the season that Katlego and Fela had in the Championship. Wow. It was quite an extraordinary return, wasn't it?
Well, I'll tell you. Obviously at Aston Villa I've got a greater budget to work with, but if I ever spend money as shrewdly as that again, I'll be doing well. It was a great buy for me, and he showed what he was capable of at the World Cup. He didn't score any goals, but to use the off-Jews phrase, he put himself about. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a striker that could provide pace, power and penetration ultimately, and he did that, and his goals return was fabulous.
Yeah, he was quite outstanding. So you got promoted via the playoffs. Relatively early into the Premier League season, you jumped ship to Aston Villa. First part of the question is why did you leave Ipswich, and was it because of your lack of belief that they would stay up, or was it just the fact that the Aston Villa job came calling?
I believe that we would have been in a fight, and to be fair, Neil McDonald, who replaced me at Ipswich, has done an amazing job. He's delivered as much as and more than I could have with the squad of players and the infrastructure at my disposal. But the key word there is infrastructure. At Aston Villa, what I've got a side that, first of all, they won the European Cup in 1982, biggest honour in football. We've got a fabulous history. Fabulous stadium. The club is steeped in history, but not just that. They've got the platform today, right now, to push on, to move forward, and that is what I was looking for. I was looking for a job. To leave Ipswich, it would have had to have been a big job, and the Villa job was a huge job, and I was really surprised with how quickly things settled. And obviously we pushed on and ended up finishing in the UEFA Cup places, Europa League as it is now, and that was fantastic.
What would you say to those Villa fans who have seen you jump ship from an excellent and very secure job at Ipswich to Villa? What if an even bigger job came along? What would you say to those Villa fans?
Ultimately, management is about testing yourself on as high a stage as you can, but obviously the success we achieved at Ipswich was great, but I didn't feel that there would be the platform to play in European football, for example. At Aston Villa, I've got that opportunity.
How come Ipswich were in the UEFA Cup not very long ago when they got promoted to the Premier League last?
Yeah.
They got to the UEFA
George
Cup.
Burley worked absolute wonders with that team, but without disrespecting Ipswich, that is a false position for them. They're overachieving if they're playing in European football. Aston Villa, on the other hand, under Martin O'Neill, were regularly competing at this level, and I hope to carry on that legacy and carry on that success.
If you could name some individuals from the current crop of players, which ones would help you to achieve that success the most?
I don't like to single out individuals, Ben. Gabby Agbonlahor, 13 goals in 14 games this season, unbelievable. But goals at the end of the day is your currency, but there's a lot more to a team than just that. And what we've got is not so much individuals, but I feel we actually have like so much depth, such a depth in our squad here. I've got options in every position, and that is fabulous. And that is why I'm delighted to be working here.
Okay, just a question about taking a broader look at it. You're the latest in the line of young Scottish managers to have achieved in the top division of English football.
Yep.
What do you think it is about the Scottish psyche which has enabled them to produce so many successful managers?
That's a fabulous question. Not one I'm sure I'm qualified to answer, but I don't know. I think Scottish football obviously has been in the doldrums for a few years now. North of the border, the game's maybe not quite what it was. But you find with a lot of Scottish players that move south, the one quality they bring is determination. They bring work rate and quite often aggression. In terms of management, I think that sort of hard, sort of take no prisoners approach, even though it's not what I tend to kind of, how I tend to operate myself. I think that kind of approach is maybe what works. I mean, it's worked for Alex Ferguson for years, although you could argue he's mellowed in recent years.
Your story is very comparable to that of Owen Coyle, who of course took an underachieving championship club and promoted them and then left in his first season to go to an established Premier League team.
Yep.
Did you consider his success with Bolton when you took the Aston Villa job?
No, because no disrespect to Owen, but I've actually been more successful at Aston Villa than he's been at Bolton.
Okay, Stuart, there's one final question then. If you've got a message for the Aston Villa fans, look into the camera now and tell them what your hopes are for the club.
Well, let's just keep doing what we're doing. I'm sure you're delighted that we're qualifying for the Europa League. I'm delighted with that myself. But next step's the Champions League. Maybe not yet, but if you keep believing, then I'll hopefully keep delivering.
Thanks very much, Stuart.